Hello and welcome all of you once again. It's Backpack, and as usual, we're moving around Cairo to bring you more about the important and beautiful sites where you can enjoy visiting during your vacation. Well, this time we decided to find out more about Old Cairo. In particular, we're talking about Islamic Cairo. Well, in different places here, we have many sites that one can call it open air museum. For example, like El Muaz Lidin Street. Well, we're going to find out more about this interesting place and also more about the mosques here. We always say that Cairo is a city of the 1,000 minarets. We're going to find out together why we call it like this, and also we'll learn together more about mosques here in Egypt or in Cairo in particular, especially that it is not only about a place or religious place, but also it has to do with architecture, with the design, many things that sometimes when you visit the mosque and only look at the minaret or the dome, you can tell to which era it belongs to. Let's find out together more about this important site of today.
In the heart of the Fatimid city, north of the site once occupied by the great Fatimid palace, stands a small but important mosque known as Al-Aqmar, which means the moonlit, sometimes also known as the Grey Mosque. It was founded during the Caliphate of Al-Muntasir, as it was built during a time of great political and spiritual crisis for the Fatimid regime. It is located on the main artery of the city. In plan, it is a regular, rectangular hypostyle mosque with a square courtyard. It is essentially the plan of a small congregational mosque. structure is of major importance for Cairo's architecture for several reasons. First of all, it is one of the seminal monuments in Cairo's architectural history, being the first mosque with an entrance that is not on an axis with the Qibla wall. Here, the facade follows the alignment of the street, while the Qibla wall is oriented to Mecca. It is therefore the first example of a mosque in Cairo with a ground plan adjusted to an existing urban street plan, a phenomenon which over the ensuing centuries was to become increasingly common and complex. Here the plan is rather simple. For the most part, the interior has a regular layout with the exception that the facade wall is thicker on one end than the other. Into the thicker part of the wall, a vestibule, a staircase, and two rooms opening into the interior were built. It is also the first mosque in Cairo to have a decorated stone facade. The facade is brick faced with stone, a wing to the right of the entrance salient, balancing that to the left. The middle of the tripartite composition is dominated by a protruding portal decorated with a large Kir arch niche carved with fluting radiating from a central medallion, like a sunrise or shell motif. The medallion has the name of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, repeated in a circular interlacing pattern forming a circle with the name Ali at the center, and all in Kufic and pierced right through the stone. This is all surrounded by a circle of arabesque and of pierced Kufic with a final circular band decorated with interlacing scrolls. And the work of engraving and piercing shows both skill and perfection. Another special feature of the facade is a chamfered corner carved with the names of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, and Ali. The original minaret has not survived. We can see on the left door jamb of the portal the circular base of the minaret, built in the late 14th century by Amir Yalbugha al-Salami, and it is a brick construct covered with stucco chevron carving and a molding with open work bosses. Above the balcony, the structure is of even later date. A special feature of the interior architecture is that each base ceiling is covered by a shallow brick dome instead of being flat, except for the aisle parallel to the Qibla wall, which is wider than the rest and is covered with a flat wooden ceiling. The mosque was restored several times in the 19th century during the reign of Muhammad Ali by Emir Sulaiman Agha al-Silahdar, who also built the mosque across the street from this one. Originally, the Mosque of Al-Akbar was not at the street level as it is today, but much higher than the street, standing above a row of shops. The rising ground level has now buried these shops. However, at the time, they had an important function, and the income of the rents were waqf, an endowment for the benefit of a pious institution for maintenance and to pay its personnel long after the founder's death. There are three inscription bands that run along the facade. The first at the summit contains the name of Al-Amir B'Ahkam Allah, and next to it is the name of his minister Ma'mun al-Batahi together with his titles and the date of foundation. The second runs at the springing of the entrance arch. This too contains the name of Ma'mun and his titles and the dates of foundation. This fashion has the combination between the names and titles of the caliph or ruler and minister, shows what influence the ministers of state had attained towards the end of the Fatimids period. The third band runs at the level of the door lintel and only contains verses from the Holy Quran. So the long period of Fatimid rule, lasting almost 3 centuries, and the dynasty's political and ideological principles brought with them a major architectural revival. Here the plan is rather simple. For the most part, the interior has a regular layout with the exception that the facade wall is thicker on one end than the other. Into the thicker part of the wall, a vestibule, a staircase, and 2 rooms opening into the interior were built. It is also the first mosque in Cairo to have a decorated stone facade. The facade is brick faced with stone, a wing to the right of the entrance salient, balancing that to the left. Clear evidence of change is provided by the monuments of the period, with their many new or additional features deriving from the traditions and cultures of the location where they were distributed.
And with this, we come to the end of our backpack for today. Thank you all for joining us. Today, we tried as much as we can to bring you more about important mosques here in Cairo. We have a lot of places to visit in Cairo if you want to enjoy your vacation. We have many important, famous sites and also sites that we would like to shed the light on. Next time, we'll be back and more about Egypt.